From the wild woods of Canada, the big book comes alive, brings you the Furnival Carnival. Once again, Paige, take it away.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. I'm Paige. I'm an alcoholic. And a fun thing about, the circus music that the clowns come up to, that song has a name. And the name of that song is the entrance of the gladiators. And it was originally created as like a war military march of like, yeah, that was meant to be like intimidating and powerful. And then the humor of that, you pair that with clowns, and now it gets known just for being clowns. So that's just a little fun fact because I wasn't 100% on the AA trivia before the meeting. So I got to get you some clown trivia after. All right. So where we're picking up today is on the very, very bottom of page 80. And we're right in the middle of into action, which is rude because it's not into like just hanging out and like into taking a nap. Rude. Into action. It's a whole lot of action. And we're looking at the directions on how to approach various amends. And right where at the very bottom paragraph of page 80, we're picking up a specific type of amends. So it says, chances are that we have domestic troubles. An alcoholic having domestic troubles? I'm as shocked about this as you are. What do you mean? Alcoholics struggling in relationships? Shocking. And I make that joke. And the humor of that is that idea of we just last week and before I showed up, we were looking at how to navigate and how to manage criminal offenses. And here's the thing, the book, when they were writing the book, they didn't have a lot of money. And they were trying to scrounge together enough money to put this thing together. So they didn't really have a whole lot of space for willy-nilly things. There's not a chapter in this book that's how to navigate amends as the result of harms caused by I can't stop going to the circus and I enjoyed the tilt-a-whirl too much, and so it's one of those things that is a helpful reminder that if it is in this book, it is common. It is something that we go through. So if you're here today and you're struggling with those domestic, those romantic, those types of relationships, I promise you are not alone. And the first direction that we take as it pertains to romantic or intimate relationships is infidelity. So that's what we're going to be diving in on. So chances are that we have domestic troubles. Perhaps we are mixed up with women in a fashion we wouldn't care to have advertised. It's an interesting thing. When I do a lot of work with sponsees around sex inventory, and we do like a lot of sex ideal work. I'm annoying with how in depth I am with things like that. Oh, it just drives them nuts. But one of the things that is a commonality that comes up again and again and again in many sex ideals is the idea that I should not, ought not engage in any behavior or relationship that I need to keep a secret. And so when it talks about maybe we're engaged with people we wouldn't care to have advertised. And if I don't want it advertised, it's a sign that maybe I'm not living up to what my God-given ideal is. If it's something that I need to keep a secret, or if it's something that I want to keep from others, it's a sign that it might not be what God's will is for me. And I'm not talking about like, I'm talking about like things that I need to keep a secret. I'm not talking about like the classic alcoholic overshare where it's like, hey, let me tell you what I'm into. No, we don't do that on Easter Sunday or whatever it is. uh, that what we're looking at is behavior that's causing harm. So it says we doubt if in this respect alcoholics are fundamentally much worse than other people. And this is a callback to a line that is found on page 69, where it says we all have sex problems. We'd hardly be human if we didn't. No, we'd hardly be alcoholic, but human. This is an area of our life where so many of us carry shame and guilt and remorse, and we have the greatest I'm going to use the word opportunity, but it's not a hopeful one, but we have the greatest opportunity to cause harm in other people. This is often where we have a lot of hangups, a lot of shame, and a lot of what blocks us off from God. And that's why we spent so much time in inventory looking at it, because I got to get clear from it. And that often means I need to make amends for it. It goes on to say, but drinking does complicate sex relations in the home. So we're talking about those romantic relationships, spouses, partners, that sort of thing. After a few years with an alcoholic, a wife gets worn out, resentful, and uncommunicative. How could she be anything else? And what's important for me to understand is that, oh, that's, I'm like, I don't think it's 25. I got that timer a little late. Woo. But I'll keep an eye on the time. No, well, you're giving me a timer. Any focus page, ADHD that I don't have. It's weird that you guys think I do, that I have trouble with my attention. Shiny, off I go. So one of the things that's important to understand is where we're at in the book is step 9. And what we've already done is a lot of work to see how I have set the ball in motion. It is important for me to see that I started the situation. I started the troubles. Yes, there are difficult wives and families, but we must remember that we did much to make them so. I'm quoting a line later on in the book. Now, when it talks about the drinking complicates sex relations in the home, Howard didn't say I could do this, but he also didn't say that I couldn't, which is how I live my life. Let's pop over to page 65 for a second. We're doing a bounce around. I will not be invited back. And again, if you're wondering who invited Paige, this is technically Kathy's doing. So she gets, Howard approved it, but technically it's Kathy. Absolutely no personal responsibility from me over here. Alrighty. So I just want to take us to page 65 really quickly. And I want to have a look at the example that we see, the example of the first 3 columns of the 4th step. And we're just going to look at our first guy. So the first guy that we are resentful to is Mr. Brown. Ah, Mr. Brown. What a stupid, smelly jerk face. I've shared this before. That's the clinical term, is stupid, smelly jerk face. I spoke at a conference out in Medicine Hat, and they had these mugs, and I got this mug for my mom, who's not an alcoholic, by the way, but I got this mug for my mom that says, Mr. Brown needs to get his ass kicked. No, yeah, like Howard's got that right there. Yeah, which I think is so funny because there was absolutely no context. She was like, oh, who's Mr. Brown? Yeah, we got some people with some Mr. Brown merch. Now, see, in column 1, Mr. Brown, he's the jerk. Column 2, and why are we resentful? His attention to our wife. Told our wife of our mistress, and he may get our job at the office. Now we can see why he needs his butt kicked. Oh man, he deserves it. But what happens is when we get to that 4th column, we start with the prayer. And we say that prayer for Mr. Brown. God help us to show Mr. Brown the same pity, patience, and tolerance that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. God save me from being, or Mr. Brown is a sick person. How can I be helpful to him? God save me from being angry. Thy will, not mine, be done. And what happens is we begin to look at that 4th column. We begin to look at where did we make decisions based on self, which later put us in a position to be hurt. And I want us to kind of get current with this 4th column because it will help lead us into the 9th step for these types of harms. And so if I were to have a look at what selfish, self-seeking, self-centered decision might have put me in a position to have a resentment, well, if I don't have a mistress, Mr. Brown's got none to tell my wife about. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm not doing that, Mr. Brown's got no dirt on me. He's got nothing to throw me under the bus for. But also, when it says his attention to my wife, see, I am a good old-fashioned alcoholic. I don't got one mistress, I got 2. See, I got the mistress that is the person that we're having the affair with in this hypothetical example. But if you're like me, and I was somebody who, I didn't engage in infidelity in that sort of way, but I've worked with a whole bunch of people who have, and we make it right and we work through it, and these are the directions for. But I will tell you, I always had a mistress in this other way. And my mistress was alcohol. My mistress was alcohol. That was what got all my time and attention and care. That was often something that I was keeping a secret. And you see, I'm not giving any attention to my wife in this hypothetical example. In this example, I've got a literal mistress. I've got the hypothetical mistress that is alcohol, and I'm not showing up how I need to show up. And if I'm not doing that, there's no room for Mr. Brown to edge his way in. Mr. Brown's got nothing to tell my wife. And I just wanted us to get a little bit current with that let's pop back over to page 81. I'm sure after Howard's like, you're supposed to read the whole thing and then share on it. I'm doing it wrong. Title of much of the inventory I've written, let me tell you. So when we go back to page 81, it says, after a few years with an alcoholic, a wife gets worn out, resentful, uncommunicative. How could she be anything else? So keep in mind, even if I don't have a literal mistress, I have a mistress that is alcohol. And I'm giving that time and attention. I'm betraying my partner or my spouses or the people in my life's trust, even though I do not want to. See, if you're like me, you know what it is like to be like, I'm never, ever, ever going to do it again, only to do it again. I know what it's like to have a secret stash. I know what it's like to hide what I was doing for my partner, and what I was doing was alcohol and some other substances. I know what that is like. And so how could I, if I'm repeatedly pushing this person away, how could they not have walls up? How could they not distance themselves to protect themselves emotionally from me? And here's the thing, at this point in my life, we have not done any work. We haven't done a thorough house cleaning. So it says the husband, take away the alcoholic, begins to feel lonely, sorry for himself. And it is helpful to understand when I'm starting to feel that sorry for myself, or I'm starting to feel that sense of loneliness, what that is an acute sense of separateness from God. That is what it is. I think it is my partner and my spouse not giving me the attention that I feel like I'm entitled to, despite treating them like a big smelly jerk. Turns out I'm the big stinky jerk. That's the my clinical diagnosis. If you're wondering what's wrong with me, it's a big stinky jerk. I don't know why I'm like this. But all I can see is, what about me? And again, what about me? Man, whenever I find myself saying that or find myself thinking that, that is the alarm bells that I am in self. And I am in that self-centeredness. Bear with me. A lot of times I talk about how, all of our defects of character can be distilled. That's maybe not the best word for it, but it's fitting. Distilled into two main defects: self-centeredness and selfishness. And self-centeredness is how I think and perceive. So in this moment, I am thinking and I am perceiving through the lens of self-centeredness. What about me? Poor me. I have been so hard done by. And that self-centeredness is going to lead me to selfishness, which is how I act. So it says he commences. So the alcoholic begins to look around in the nightclubs or their equivalent for something besides liquor. I'm trying to find that romantic or sexual connection. And it is also helpful to understand that at root, what is wrong with me, at root, at base, what we treat here is that conscious sense of separateness from God. And I don't know about you, but for somebody like me, I am a relief-seeking missile. I need relief. There is nothing more intolerable than how I am feeling in this moment, and I need to not feel that way. And alcohol works. Alcohol works better than anything I have ever found. And as a result of that, I create, or I develop, or what emerges is the obsession of the mind, a thought that takes me back again and again and again to the first drink, despite the fact that it is ruining my life. But what we need to do is we need to treat that sense of loneliness, that sense of disconnect from God. That is what we treat. That's what we treat. Oh, are you off? Oh, she's off. Bye, Kathy. We love you. I didn't catch it before she had to go. But we do. We love her so much. All right. That's what we treat here. That's what we treat. And how we treat that is through the spiritual awakening. And how we get there is through the 12 steps. But if I don't have that spiritual awakening and I don't grow and deepen that spiritual awakening, I will continue to look for things outside of me to fill that void, like sex, like relationships. And what will happen is I will continue to cause harm. Because listen, if I'm getting into bed just so I get out of me, ooh, I am not. Listen, I am not choosing the healthiest people. Some of you guys know, yeah, I'm not. I'm not knocking boots with some spiritual giants over there. If I'm just looking for relief, that I know. I am surprised at the metaphors that I'm using as well. I didn't know I had that knocking boots. You can tell I'm from Alberta. Oh, yeah. There's a nightclub that we had, and it was called. It's still going. It's called Cowboys, and their tagline was like, "It's the most fun that you can have with your boots on." And oh lordy, we're on tangents today. And some of you are like, "Why are there 5 weeks in June? We're stuck with her." But if I am just hopping into bed with whomever I can get because I need relief, I'm not using a lot of discernment. I'm not a healthy person. I'm not bringing in healthy people into my life, and I'm creating harm, and I'm getting more and more blocked from God until what will inevitably happen is that first drink. In fact, it talks about that on page 70. That idea that if I do not have a sex ideal and I do not live up to it, I don't make amends for the harms that I've caused when and if I fall short, man, what happens is I will drink again. It's not a matter of if, but when. And so again, what is happening here is a symptom that the illness is untreated. So going to the nightclub or their equivalent, maybe Cowboys, for something besides liquor. Perhaps he is having a secret, an exciting affair with the girl who understands. And this is a moment. This is a moment where the book meets us where we're at. You see, the book, Alcoholics Anonymous, it was written and meant to go out and succinctly carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I might be a sole alcoholic living in Calgary, Alberta in the 1940s. And I don't got the Akron manual pamphlets to get that are a little bit easier reading. That's a joke because we were talking about that before the meeting. Come early, you'll get the tangents. And actually, even if you don't come early, sometimes you won't get the tangents. Yeah, Howard's got the Akron manual. Because I don't even, I'm like, why am I on this tangent? I'm as shocked as you are. We're off on a little stroll through the tulips. But here's the thing, this book was meant to go out to the world and carry this message. And so the message would not be lost, which is part of why we study it, we learn from it, we experience it. And there were alcoholics who had no one, no meetings, no big book comes alive. No, all they did was they got a copy of this book and they were alone in the world to follow its directions. And what I have found is again and again and again that this book meets us with grace. It meets us with grace. See, the book, sometimes we think Alcoholics Anonymous or the book Alcoholics Anonymous, which the fellowship is named after, is expecting perfection, that I've got to be Little Miss Perfect, and that's not my experience. The book meets me where I'm at, in the depth of my shame, in the depth of my denial, in the depth of my resistance, in the depth of my, as some of you guys know, my twisties and my resisties, in the depth of my unwillingness, or my confusion, or my pain, and my suffering. And I think that is beautiful. And this is just my opinion. Feel free to disregard it. But we talk about how this book is divinely inspired. And what I've found is that is also where God meets me, in the depth of my pain, in the depth of my shame, in the depth of my suffering. And when I am wrapped up in the bondage of self, it is only that pain that will unlock that crack where the light of God begins to get in. And so when it says he's having an secret and exciting affair with the girl who understands, and you can hear the justification and the rationalize, no, she gets me, she lets me drink, she doesn't nag me to be home with the kids, or like go to work, we just have a good time. And this is, I think, the book meeting the reader where they're at. where it says, in fairness, we must say that she may understand. Okay, okay, sure, maybe she understands. I mean, probably not. Or maybe she understands so well and we got to save her a seat here, you know? Oh, well, I got some sponsees that'll work with her. We got it. We got it. Some of you are like, don't throw me under the bus again. Uh, uh, but when it says, but in fairness, we must say that she may understand. And you can almost see the book as a sponsor meeting a sponsee, and they're like, you know what? You don't understand. She gets me. My mistress gets me. My wife, she's the worst, right? Like you can imagine that. And the book say, okay, maybe she does understand, but what are we going to do? And you see, the book meets me where I'm at, and then it gives us the course of action that we need to take. And that's what we're going to see. So it says, in fairness, we must say that she may understand. But what are we going to do about a thing like that? What are we going to do? And in the next paragraph, which actually, to be honest, we might not even get to today. Maybe it's a one paragraph day, which that evens up because I took 3 paragraphs last week. So I was a little bit selfish pants taking an extra paragraph. Ooh, but I will be bouncing us a little bit. So please bear with me. So it says, in fairness, in fairness, we must say that she may understand, but what are we going to do about a thing like that? So we have to do something. It says, a man so involved often feels very remorseful at times. And I'll be honest, in many, many cases, when I'm working with sponsees, that is my experience with them. Those who have experienced infidelity, they experience a tremendous sense of guilt and shame. And which, I mean, yeah, fair enough. I mean, it is a tremendous betrayal of trust. And I had this sponsee, and she cheated on her husband, and he knew, like that had already been disclosed, and the guilt that riddled her, it created physiological symptoms within her. Like I would sit with her. Now, some of you guys know I got neurological problems, and like I got some weird symptoms, and like I'll have chronic nausea out of nowhere, and so I got a lot of empathy for this. But she would show up, and she would be dry heaving due to the stress and the guilt and the anxiety, and like, man, it was on her. We have to do something, and there's a difference between guilt and shame. Just I want to talk about that. Guilt is that I have done something bad, and guilt is an important emotion. I need guilt. Guilt is a barometer. Guilt is a compass. Guilt tells me when I am misaligned with God's will for me, with my values. I need to have guilt. Guilt is good if I then use it to point me to the actions that I need to take, which, spoilers, that is amends. If I feel guilty, I often have to make amends for that thing because I'm misaligned. And so what she was experiencing was guilt. And that's good. That's a healthy feeling to have. But then there's also shame. And so if guilt is that I have done bad, what shame is that I am bad. And that is not a healthy emotion. That is not a helpful way to feel. And part of why it is not helpful is because it's not accurate. It's not accurate. Bear with me with this. Man, I'm off on tangents I didn't expect to go on. It's a surprise for all of us. But in the 7th step, it talks about, my Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. And what that means is there is a God, a higher power, a creator, the spirit of the universe here in Alcoholics Anonymous that wants us, all of us, not in spite of the things that we've done, but all of us regardless of the things that we've done. And not only is this a power that wants us, this is a power that will use us, Because in the 7th step prayer, we ask that this power now relieve from us everything which stands in the way of our usefulness to you and to our fellows. Grant us strength as we go out from here to do our bidding. And that is why shame is not helpful, because it is grossly incorrect. Guilt is helpful. If I take the actions of the 12 steps, that guilt will fall from me. But also, here's my experience as a human being who has been riddled with shame, that the more I lean in And the more that I take these actions that I don't like and I don't believe in and that I do not think will help, the more I get freedom from that shame as well. And that allows us to live and to be in the sunlight of the Spirit. Now, where I was going to take us, I was going to pop us over to 106, but I got like, I got like 1 minute left. So yeah, no, I'm not gonna take us to 106. But the reason I was going to take us to 106 is because the chapter 2 wives is not like a chapter for a lot of times we think it's for wives or it's for spouses, and in my experience that chapter is for those who are as bound to the alcoholic as the alcoholic is bound to alcohol. And as an alcoholic, I cannot quit alcohol. And a potential Al-Anon, an untreated codependent, they are unable to quit the alcoholic. And that's what we're talking about when I think of the loyal and courageous girl who has literally gone through hell for him. She also, and I'm using the genders the book has, whoever it is, they need relief just as much as I do. And I've only ever found that through the 12 steps. So 8 seconds left. I'll stop there. Right on time, sort of. Thank you. Oh.